And so I'm going to start off by you've heard of A Tale of Two Cities as
I
a
don't think
classic
you're.
book.
There we go. I
You
got it
see it?
added. Yeah, I got it added in now.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so we've heard of A Tale of Two Cities, right? Classic novel. Well, I feel like I was living this reality the other day of A Tale of Two Mattress Stores. My wife and I, David, this is crazy. Our mattress. Think about the quality of this thing. We've had it for. I bought it a year before we got married. We'll be married 20 years this spring. So we've been very pleased with our mattress of 20 years or 21 years. We're shopping again, for a new mattress. Um, we're not like out shopping for mattresses all the time. So we're like, what's new? What's happened in the last 20 years, between then and now? And so I know some people buy mattresses much more frequently than we have, but we walked into two different stores the other day, and this experience was crazy. And what I realized was sometimes you find the greatest lessons in the most unexpected places. And I learned so much in these two recent shopping experiences that I thought this has to be one of our trainings, because I think there's just a lot of value here. Now, one of the things I'll say is this was brick and mortar experience, but at the same time, I think we can glean some principles here that I want to share today that will help us with how you do this online as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do two stories, a case study of each one. So the first story we walk into, here's our experience. We were immediately greeted when we entered the store by a nice salesman, a younger guy, just energetic, but not pushy, just very welcoming. Like I said, he's welcoming. He was helpful right out of the gate. He showed that he was going to be helpful. It wasn't just, hey, how can I help you? And I want to sell you something in the next 3 to 5 minutes. It was, what brings you to the store here? And that's why he asked us. He asked us, what are we looking for? What not only what brought you here today, but what are you looking for in general? And so we started telling him our story about, hey, we've had this mattress for a long time. We've been pleased with this brand and everything, but we don't know what's out there anymore because we just haven't been shopping for a long time. And so we're just kind of seeing what other options are out there, or are we going to go back to the one we've had for the last 2 decades? And so, but he was very curious and just asked us. Then he literally, this was really awesome, David. He literally said, okay, let me walk you over here right by the door. I saw this sign when we came in and I glanced at it, but he walked us over to this sign and he said, look, we're going to go through 3 things. It's a 3-step process. Boom, boom, boom. And it was like it was kind of on this banner stand. This was their journey. This is what they do with every customer that they're helping. And so he just said, here's what you can expect. Here's how you're going to work with us. And it was so clear. It was so simple. And with me doing as much marketing study and research as I've been doing recently, I'm like, they've got this down. Like, this is sharp. Then he showed us 3 initial options to test. So right next to that sign was like a plush, a medium, and then a firm, level of mattresses. And they have mattresses all over this store, but he says, let's start over here. Let's look at these. And so, we said, well, we don't want the firm. He's like, okay, so forget that one. So we're like, okay, then it's between these 2. So he's like, test these 2 out. And so we do that thing of almost falling asleep in the store, while you're trying to see what feels right. So once we said, you know what, we really like this middle of the road, firmness. And he's like, all right, so now we know. And he's like, let me go over here. Let's walk over here. Follow me over here. And he shows us another set of mattress options. Then he shows us like this super high end option, and it was like this state of the art, kind of new technology kind of bed. But he's showing us these relevant options as we go along, based on the 3-step process he said we'd walk through, and asking us the questions of figuring out what is it that's most comfortable to us. Mm-hmm. And then so we kind of do this. We go around the store. He's this low pressure, helpful guide. We're asking questions. He's giving us information, but he's not drowning us in information. He's just truly connecting with us. And he said, he goes, now there's some other options, and he showed us around. And so we said, could you price this out? Well, if we go this one, what does that look like? And he's like, sure. And so he goes over the computer, puts in a few things, right, and prints out an offer sheet for us of what it would look like to work with him. He knew we were looking. He knew that we weren't going to make a decision right that moment, but he wanted to make sure we had the information, and we walked out of there, and I'm like, they've got this process nailed down. Like this guy was very good at it, but I believe it's probably an easy, repeatable thing that they have all their salespeople go through. So that was what we walked into the first time. Now, case study number 2, we go to this other store, which I had heard about for years and years and years and years, right? It was a well-known mattress company. I was expecting, I had high expectations, I guess. I thought that, they've been around, they've had the staying power. So we walk into the store, but here's the deal. No salesperson was visible when we walked in. The sales guy was actually in the back room where his desk is, kind of a back office desk. And he ultimately did come up, but it was like this, kind of like this long football field feeling kind of a space. And we walk in there and see nobody, right, for the first couple minutes. And then he comes strolling up. Found out this guy had been in the industry for a long, long time, and knew a lot about the industry and everything. And I'll get to that in a minute. But we didn't walk in feeling welcome. We didn't walk in feeling greeted. We didn't walk in feeling like they wanted a sale from us at that moment. So he was nice, but what we felt was he was irrelevant. Like he wasn't trying to really help us. He didn't do the things we had just experienced. He didn't really ask us what we needed. In fact, he didn't ask us at all what we were looking for. We had to finally ask where to start. And that's the crazy part of this, right? Is that the first store was saying, here's our 3-step process. Here's where I want to take you first. They were guiding us through a very clear, simple path of finding what's going to work for us. This guy, once again, nice man, had been in the industry a long time. And maybe that's part of the reason. Maybe he had kind of forgotten about some of these principles or maybe he took for granted that people just come into mattress stores and buy a mattress. But we were truly shopping around, and we even told him that, hey, same story, looking for a mattress, been 20 years kind of thing. We don't even know what's available. And we had to ask him. I mean, finally, my wife said, where do we look? Like, where do we start? Like, we're in this room full of mattresses, and these beds laid out. We don't know where to start. And he didn't even really, he was like, well, I guess we could start over here. Like, it wasn't even confident. And so he didn't really become a helpful guide right out of the gate. He didn't show us relevant options because he didn't listen. So he was there, and there was all these mattresses, and he would take us to places, but he really wasn't showing us relevant options because he didn't even ask. He didn't ask, do you like softer, medium, or firm, style mattresses? And then he was sharing all this irrelevant information about the industry, even after we said we were leaving, and we didn't see anything that we really wanted. He said, well, let me come. He goes, I'd like to show you one more thing real quick. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe he wants to be helpful, right? Well, he shows us these cut open mattresses, and he's showing us springs, and he's showing us all this stuff. And I'm like, this doesn't matter to me, right? And David, you and I, we've talked about this, right? He got lost in the feature side of things versus the benefits and trying to really understand our need. And so he was sharing irrelevant information based on where we were. He was telling us this history of companies and how 2 or 3 major manufacturers were the ones who were, building all these beds that we see in the industry. He knew the industry. He knew the history of the mattress industry, but he didn't connect with us as customers. And basically, this was a kicker too. Every time we went and laid down on a bed to test out, he would say something along the lines of, now, you don't have to buy this one. This is, it was kind of like he was talking us out of the sale every time we laid down to test something. So do you see the comparison here? Do you see the contrast here of store number 1 was helpful. They were clear. They were guides for us. Store number 2 took a lot of things for granted, very irrelevant, very focused on the wrong things. Once again, nice gentleman, wasn't a big deal in that regard. We didn't walk out thinking that guy's a jerk, but we walked out going, literally, I'm sitting there thinking, I'll probably never go back to that store just because I don't think they have what we would even want. So they basically, kind of like we talked about, it's the lifetime value of a customer, right? We had gone to that store because good friends of ours bought mattresses at that store and said they had a great experience with what they got. But we walk in and we walked out with a completely different feel from that experience. And so we didn't even get the beds home to say, yeah, these beds are the right fit for us. we just wanted to be gone. It was I kept looking at my wife saying, can we just leave now? I mean, this is not helpful. I knew the other store, you know, would have been where we would have bought, you know, between the two. So anyway, through all that, and this is what I kind of want to synthesize for us today in our training. Think about this from your business. Think about what it takes to close a sale for whatever it is you sell, whether it's a product or a service, because there really are. And I know there are probably a lot of nuances, and that's kind of my caveat here or my asterisk to this training. There are going to be other nuanced things that you can do along the way. But these are 4 things that jumped out at me as 4 secrets to close a sale that were just obvious to me. And the first one is this: have a clear plan for how to work with you with like a maximum of 3 to 4 steps. So what is it that somebody needs to do to engage with you? What is it that they need to do? When that guy said, let's walk over here, and he said, here's how we're going to work this today to help you, it was 1, 2, 3. It was so clear. I mean, like I said, I was highly impressed. So he had a clear plan that he could have followed through. There's another sales guy in there with him that could have done the same thing. They could have had 100 other salespeople floating around that room if they wanted to, and they all would have been able to walk through this process with any customer that walked in the store. So have a clear plan. How do people work with you? Number 2 here is listen to your audience's needs or desires. The bottom line is when we are selling a product or a service, you know, we've said it many times in these trainings, but we are trying to meet a need, a desire, a pain point, a problem, whatever they may be dealing with. Your product, your service is a solution to their need, their problem, their desire. So maybe it's relieving them of pain. Maybe it's giving them a special desire that they have. But whatever it is, you have to listen to what they're looking for. Some people are looking for relief. Other people are looking for a benefit. You know, they just want to up level. They want to improve something, right? So listen, because that first sales guy, he kept asking really good questions and listening. So I'm anticipating, or I'm guessing that they have a great sales training program behind that company where they walk these salespeople through about listening, asking good questions, and paying attention. And so when you're listening to your audience's needs, and this could be like on Facebook, you could see things that people are talking about. It could be in conversations face to face. It could be in an email exchange. It could be you're doing a Facebook Live and you're asking people, hey, if you have a question about something, drop it in the comments, and you kind of do some back and forth Q&A with them. But whatever it is, listen to their needs or their desires. Number 3 is give relevant samples of your product or service. You know, David built out the 5-day killer lead magnet that you could walk through that process and develop a PDF or a video series or some kind of an email campaign that you're giving a free sample of your thing, your business, your product, your service, whatever it is in your business, but you're giving them a taste of what you have to offer. And so, you know, honestly, in a mattress store, the free sample is you're trying out beds. You're laying down on these beds to see what feels best. But once again, are they relevant? So if I know somebody, if I'm not going to give a free sample of something that's designed for men to an audience full of women or vice versa. If there's a product or a service that you offer for parents, you're not going to want to give a sample of that to people who don't have kids yet. So what is relevant to your audience? And I know one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is, you know, you can offer and position things to different audiences. It basically could even be the same thing, but how you give them a sample is going to look different based on the people you're talking to. But basically make it a relevant sample. It's kind of like, you know, you walk through the food court at the mall and there's the people in front of the Asian restaurant where they offer chicken on a stick, or you go through Sam's or Costco and you're seeing samples. The grocery store, there's, you know, and I know we're not seeing that as much these days during COVID, but we know that's been reality. And so how many sales are closed because the people caught you saying, hey, would you like to try our chicken? And all of a sudden you're like, that tastes really good. And I didn't walk in here with a plan necessarily of what I'm going to buy in this food court, but now I'm going to go right there because my taste buds are telling me to go there. So they've given you a relevant sample when you're hungry, and do that for your customers, your prospects, because when it's relevant and timely, then they are more likely to buy from you. And then the 4th thing was really just ask for the sale when the timing is right. Once again, you don't want to rush the process, but you also don't want to leave it so open-ended that people don't even know that you have an offer for them. And this is where I think a lot of us get tripped up. We want to be nice. We don't want to be pushy. We don't want to be salesy. We had those bad experiences, or we're afraid of being a bad experience. So what I saw in this experience I had the other day was both mattress stores had the same types of product that we could have engaged with or bought, but only one really asked for the sale. They we got to the point and he said, would you like me to put together a quote for what it would cost to do that? Yeah. The second store didn't even let us get there. Didn't even ask for the sale at all. It was, and once again, he kept apologizing, or almost like saying, "Oh, you don't have to buy that one. Don't worry." I'm like, you don't even know what we're looking for. Why would you try to talk us out of something? It's like, we don't want the opposite of that ultra salesy side is don't ask for the sale. And that's not right either. It's not going to help you grow your business. You're not going to have a business for long. So I just want to kind of bring these four things, because once again, there are other things that you could probably put layers between these. But I guess my point is, if you have a clear plan, you're listening to your audience, you're giving them relevant ways to connect with you and sample what you have to offer, and you're asking for the sale when the timing is right, your sales process, your sales completion, closing that loop for people is going to just be so much greater, because you are going to be clear, you're going to be relevant to them. And not everybody's going to buy. We understand that. But here's the thing. Even if you don't buy today, what if they say, you know what, I'm not ready today, but I have you in top of mind when we need to come back, or when I am ready. And so once again, 2 mattress stores, one that I pretty much walked out of saying, I don't know if we're going to definitely buy that, but I know what I would buy there. The other one was, I'm not coming back to that store probably ever again. So think about that. And we would recommend the first store, even if we don't end up buying there, I would recommend that store. Mm-hmm. I would say you need to go to that store because they have a clear process. They're very good working with you. They're listening. So they essentially got, word of mouth marketing from me, even if we don't ultimately choose to buy from them, which we're still deciding right now. So I guess my point is, this matters not just for the one customer, the one prospect, but what about their friends, their network, their people, and what are they saying, right? So to kind of close all this up today, I think the biggest thing is when you shift your thinking and view selling as serving your ideal client's needs or desires, it changes everything. It really does. When you see that, hey, I am helping them, I'm serving them to help with their problem or their wish in their life, something they want improved, and you're serving them and you're helping them, it just changes your approach. You're not being the salesy person that you kind of fear. The other thing is making it easy to work with you through a clear process is huge. And don't forget to ask for the sale. So you wouldn't want to work through that process and then go, I hope you guys have a great day. You want to say, here's the process. I want to work, I'll help you guide through. What would you like to do? Are you interested in getting a quote, or do you want to go ahead and purchase the thing? Or, what is the next step? Even David, I was at an initial meeting with a company. This was a couple years ago now. And we talked for about an hour about how I could help them with their leadership team. And I just kind of remember sitting at the end, because I thought they were interviewing like several coaches at the time. They kind of told me that. I don't think they really were. And I said, well, what's your timeline? What do you need next? That would be helpful to you. And they're like, no, just send us a quote. We want to work with you. But it was just simply that it was a good conversation. I was listening. I was paying attention. I was talking them through things of how I would work with their team. I think it was a very easy, smooth conversation. And all they needed to know was, okay, based on everything we've talked about, what does it look like, to work with you? And so I sent them over a proposal, and that was my biggest contract I'd ever had at that point. That was signed within 48 hours of, having that meeting, because going through this process, I look back, I see that now. I see that's what I did more almost intuitively back then. So now I keep thinking about, well, what if we're intentional? What if we do this on purpose? And so anyway, that folks is really what I want to just highlight to you on today. David, you can stop sharing right now if you have that control on your end.
Actually, can you go back to the slide before?
Oh yeah, hold on one second.
Because I'd like to I'd like to, the one with the 4, there you go, the 4 secrets. Pop that one up there a little bit again, because I wanted to just reiterate, because I think what you shared here is really, really good. This is some really good stuff to remember. And I just want to make sure people understand how this translates over into doing something like in a sales funnel and online when we're doing, because what Chris went through was a in-person experience. He did it walking into a store, and all these things were there, but all these things are still very, very relevant doing them online. And again, I've mentioned this in the past, like when we do this stuff, this isn't just, online isn't different than offline. Where the mechanism is different on how we're communicating and how we're doing things, but the principles are still the same. We're still dealing with people. We're still dealing with a human being on the other side, and we're still having to go through certain steps. Now, as you look at what Chris just shared here, have a clear plan for how you're going to work with them. Well, number one, that's your funnel. That's your funnel online. How are you going to have this funnel set up? And there's going to be a registration page. There's going to be maybe a page where, depending on the funnel, training page, or a page where you have an offer and different steps. There's going to be multiple little steps all along the way of how are you working with that customer. And you have it outlined and it's logical. We're going to start here and I'm going to introduce the concept to you. And we're going to be talking about these different things. And then I'm going to lead you into this and then into this. You're having a logical flow to how you're interacting with your audience. It's the same principle. The next one is listen to your audiences, if I can get the words out, needs and desires. Well, that really is the same thing. How am I going to get you to engage in my sales funnel? How am I going to get you to opt in? How am I going to get you to go through the funnel? Well, I need to know either A, what's your pain point? What's the problem that you're struggling with, that you're looking for an answer that you're not getting solved? Or B, what's the desire that you have that you want to get? Like Chris was saying with the mattress, you may have a mattress that's just falling apart and having problems and I need to get this fixed. That's the problem side. I have a mattress that it's no good anymore. It's lumpy. I can't sleep well. It's a problem. The other side, maybe I just want a nicer one. Maybe I've been doing well over the past period of time and I have some extra money. I want to, upscale what I have. I want to go up a level and get something even nicer. So there's 2 ways to do it. So you need to understand, what is your audience want? What is it that they're after? And trust me, the things that your audience wants is far more important than what your audience needs. You need to understand that, because if you can sit here and say, how many people know that you should really need life insurance? And yet how many people are excited to go out and buy life insurance? Probably not nearly as many. That number drops off dramatically, even though, especially if you have a family, you're married, having life insurance becomes really important to provide for the people that you leave behind. So that becomes a need, but it's something that you're truly going after. But if you're sitting there going, oh, we could go on a vacation to fill in the blank to some place that you've always wanted to go, and you now have the money to do it, bam, you're on that thing. You're not going to wait around, because there's a desire for it. There's that real want. You have that want there. You need to know what that is for your audience. You need to really understand, what does my audience want? What is their problem that they're facing? And understand them, so that when you're speaking to them, like what Chris said, when he was meeting with those 2 people, one of them was really listening to it. One of them was really paying attention to, what does Chris need? What's Chris trying to do? And his family, what are they actually trying to accomplish here? The other side was not even really paying attention. He didn't understand Chris's needs. He didn't understand what Chris was trying to get after. And so the communication just breaks down. You need to know your customer avatar. You need to understand who your customer is. What is it that they want? What is it that they need? What is the problem that they're trying to solve? And then give samples. Now, you give relevant samples. In Chris's case here, it was, hey, go lay down on the mattress. Great. On the online world, it's here's a free training. Okay, here's a free training on X, Y, and Z, or here's a free resource, or here's a free something, a free downloadable ebook, something that you're going to do that's going to give them useful support, give them something that's going to help them in their journey to build credibility with them. And here's the part that you have to keep in mind when you're giving out these samples, as you're talking through them, especially if you're doing a webinar or a training, the thing that you have to remember is you're doing this with such a perspective of, hey, this is being done to change the beliefs of the person that I'm talking to. And when I first always say that, some people may feel like that sounds a little bit manipulative, but let me explain what I mean by that. When I'm saying that you need to change the beliefs of the person that you're speaking to, this is what I mean. If again, if I was dealing with a customer or a prospect and they're coming to me because they're struggling with something, they're struggling with how to grow their business and how to get it going online. What do I know? Right now, I know that they're not believing things correctly and they're not doing things correctly. Why do I know that? Very simply put, if they were believing things correctly and they were doing things correctly, they'd be having success. Because there is a path forward to have success. The fact that you're telling me I'm really struggling to get leads, I'm really struggling to get sales, I'm really struggling to have success in this area of my life tells me right now that you're not believing things correctly. You're not acting on things correctly. You're not following through this. So as I'm giving samples, as I'm doing trainings, as I'm doing things, my primary objective in doing all this stuff is I need to change your beliefs. I need you to get and understand the right way to think about this. I need you to understand the right way to approach these things. I need you to understand the right way to go about solving this problem so that when I get you to understand what that right answer is, your eyes are open and your mind is now thinking about this situation and from a whole new perspective. Now you're going, wow, so the right way to solve this is through this. You're right. And what is that? What is that moment when I get the person on the other side to see what the right way to do something is? When I get the person to see what the correct way is, now it's time to ask for the sale. Because now you offer the solution. Now you've helped them change their attitude. You help them change their beliefs. You help them change their way of seeing things and way how they should be approaching this problem, the tool that they need, the training that they need, the service that they need. Now, when they see it and they go, you're right, that's the thing that I need. That's the answer to the problem that I've been looking for. Now's when you ask for the sale because now they get it. Now they understand, yes, if I'm going to solve this problem, I need this. This is the thing that will help me get what I want, help me solve the problem, help me achieve my desire. So that's the process. Chris has outlined it very, very well here. He's very succinctly laid it out for you, but I just want to make sure that we translate it to when we're doing this online in our funnels, when we're doing it on our websites, when we're doing webinars, when we're doing presentations. Have your plan in place. That's your funnel. How am I going to interact and engage with my customer? What does my customer need and want? I got to understand that well, so all my communication is dialed into that. How am I going to, the samples is me giving them value and me helping to shape their beliefs so that they do have a chance of having success in this area. And once I get there, I ask for the sale. It's the same process that Chris went through while he was going through these stores. And this is the process of getting a sale. It doesn't matter if you're standing in a mattress store or if you're doing a webinar online, it's the same flow. So I just want to make sure everybody translates it across well, because this is very important what Chris just shared. This is very, very solid, sound stuff. And when you get this and when you understand this, this is going to help you become much more successful in your business. So,
David, one of the things as you're even talking about that, would you agree that this is the power of copywriting too, right? When you're writing your landing pages and your different funnel pages, that to think about it as that conversation that that yes, you're having with that, if it was a physical customer in a physical store. And because I think that's where a lot of this is lost. I know this is something I feel like I'm continually learning is that right as if you're talking to the person across the table from you, right as you're because if you were having a conversation, I think a lot of people act strange, I'll say, for lack of better terminology, online stranger than they would with somebody sitting across the table from them. Is that true? Do you sound that to be true?
Absolutely. And I think copywriting and learning how to write really good copy is one of the keys to success. 100%. I absolutely am thoroughly and completely convinced of that. And I would even take what you just said even one step further. You really want to, as you said, think about the person as if they were sitting across the table from you and you're talking to them directly. I would even go one step further and say, put yourself in their shoes. Mm-hmm. Stop looking at this from your perspective. Look at it from their perspective. Look at it from their point of view and ask yourself the question, if I was them, what would I want? If I was them, what would I be thinking about? What would I be needing? What questions would I have? What are the things that I would really want to get? What am I trying to solve? What am I trying to do? Where am I trying to go? Because if you can get there, now you're kind of getting in the mind of your prospect and of your customer. You're kind of understanding, okay, so if I was doing this, then I would want that. Because this is going to be a problem. And then you start to understand these are the objections they're going to have to being successful. These are the objections they're going to have to doing this, because they're going to look at it and go, yeah, but I still don't think I could get there because of this. Well, then let me offer you something in my product or in my offer that's going to help you overcome that challenge. Let me help you overcome it. And that's how you structure an offer to really meet all those needs.
Yeah. I think I think I've said it here before, but I just continue to be more and more convinced almost daily how important copywriting is, because, I know I've heard it said, I think we've talked, it's like you could have an inferior product and sell it, outsell a better product with good copywriting. And because if it's clear, if the offer is clear, the benefits are clear, all the things that we've talked about are clear, people are going to say, I want that, or I need that. Right. And so, but you could have the best thing on earth in comparison, but not communicate it well. And so really it's like, I think this is where a lot of us on online business, especially early on, are getting hung up. And even maybe further on, it's, there's probably companies out there that could be multiplying their sales, even corporations, if they communicated better, so we as solopreneurs or small business owners, that's on us, we don't have the marketing department, a lot of times, right, to do this for us. And so, so I think this is, I hope that you folks are just realizing that there's so many different pieces, and we want to help you with that. And that's why we bring up these topics and these trainings, and why we're developing more resources, because we know that there's you think you're getting into business to do one thing, it's that product or that program, that coaching service, whatever. And all of a sudden you realize there's 100 things that you need to really get figured out along the way. And thankfully, most of us start kind of ignorantly, wouldn't you say, David, or else we'd be really intimidated.
Well, if we weren't ignorant, we'd all be like, sipping iced tea at the beach, because
that's true.
We'd have a house full of money, but, and that's, anyway, but just keep in mind, it is a skill. This is 100% a skill. And I'll just add this, and then we can kind of wrap it up for today. But copywriting is, as Chris has been saying, hugely important to your success. It is really, really important, but that doesn't mean it's salesy copywriting. That doesn't mean it's sleazy copywriting. This is the type of copywriting that means I know how to connect with another human being. This is, I know how to communicate the value of something clearly and clear and succinctly and in a high value way to a person who's reading it, that I can write this in such a way that the person on the other side can get it, that they can look at this and go, wow, this sounds amazing. This is really, really good. I need this. This is fantastic. So how do I get it? And that's the process. If you can get there, and again, it's about how do you communicate with another human being? How do you communicate value to them? How do you get them to see it? And if you get good at that, you can start having significantly higher levels of success.